US President Donald Trump has announced a 25% tariff on all car and light truck imports into the country. It's due to come into effect on April 2nd.
For decades, the American auto market was considered untouchable. It was the ultimate prize, large, wealthy, brand loyal, and central to global automotive strategy. Every major manufacturer wanted a foothold in the United States, not just for sales, but for prestige. If you could win in America, you could win anywhere. That assumption held true for generations, until suddenly it didn't. In recent months, something unusual began happening beneath the surface of the US auto industry. German luxury giants, BMW, Mercedes-Benz, and Audi, weren't announcing bold new expansions. They weren't unveiling major US investments. In fact, they were doing the opposite. Production plans were quietly shelved, shipments slowed, future commitments vanished from earnings calls. No dramatic press conferences, no formal declarations of retreat, just a steady, deliberate pullback that left industry insiders asking the same question. Why would some of the world's most powerful automakers willingly step away from the world's most lucrative market? The answer didn't lie in consumer demand. American buyers still wanted German cars. Showrooms weren't empty because of disinterest. The problem wasn't technology either. These companies were leading the global transition into electrification, software-driven vehicles, and advanced manufacturing. The real catalyst came from Washington, and it arrived fast, blunt, and without warning. A new wave of US import tariffs, spearheaded under President Trump's trade agenda, fundamentally altered the cost structure of selling vehicles in America. What was framed politically as a move to protect domestic manufacturing quickly turned into something far more destabilizing. It disrupted global supply chains that had taken decades to build. It injected uncertainty into long-term planning. And most critically, it broke a core principle that multinational manufacturers rely on above all else: predictability. What followed wasn't just a clash between governments. It was a structural shock to the global automotive system, one that reshaped investment flows, shifted innovation centers overseas, and triggered economic consequences far beyond factory gates. American workers, suppliers, dealers, and even domestic automakers soon found themselves caught in the blast radius. This is not just a story about tariffs or politics. It's a story about how quickly global industries can reroute when stability disappears, and how a policy designed to strengthen American manufacturing may have instead accelerated a quiet withdrawal of some of its most valuable partners. To understand how it happened, we have to start at the moment everything changed. Real quick, if you're into videos that cut through the noise and break things down clearly, go ahead and hit that like button. It helps more people find this. And if you're not subscribed yet, now's a good time. We've got more deep dives coming your way. Also, drop a comment and let me know what you think. I'd love to hear your take. Now onto the video. The turning point came not through months of negotiation or gradual regulatory change, but through a sudden escalation in US trade policy. In a move that stunned global markets, President Trump imposed a 25% tariff on imported vehicles and automotive components, framing the decision as a necessary step to force manufacturers to produce domestically or lose access to American consumers. The message was simple, direct, and uncompromising: build here or pay the price. For German automakers, the announcement was more than political rhetoric. It was a financial shockwave. Companies like BMW and Mercedes-Benz did operate US plants, but those facilities were deeply integrated into global supply networks. Engines, transmissions, electronic modules, and high-precision components flowed in from Germany, Slovakia, Mexico, and beyond. A modern vehicle isn't made in one country. It's assembled through a complex choreography of cross-border production. The tariff didn't just raise costs, it disrupted the choreography itself. Audi faced an even harsher reality. Unlike BMW and Mercedes, Audi had no manufacturing plant in the United States at the time. Every vehicle it sold in America was imported. Under the new tariff framework, Audi models were suddenly exposed not only to the base 25% tariff, but to layered duties that in some scenarios pushed total cost increases toward extreme levels. Overnight, Audi's US business model became economically unstable. The problem wasn't simply higher prices. Passing the full cost onto consumers risked destroying demand in an already competitive luxury market. Absorbing the cost internally would mean massive losses, and relocating production was not a short-term solution. It requires years of investment, regulatory approvals, workforce training, and supplier relocation. The tariff decision ignored these realities. What made the situation worse was how abruptly the policy was introduced. There was little advance notice, limited consultation with industry leaders, and no phased implementation. For manufacturers accustomed to planning 5, 10, even 20 years ahead, this unpredictability was alarming. It signaled that future policy shifts could arrive just as suddenly, with little regard for sunk investments or long-term commitments. The immediate response from German automakers was telling. Mercedes-Benz paused certain vehicle shipments. While headlines focused on German automakers and global trade tensions, the most immediate damage unfolded quietly inside the United States. The tariff shock did not stop at corporate balance sheets. It rippled outward into American communities, supplier networks and regional economies that had grown dependent on the presence of BMW, Mercedes-Benz and Audi. These impacts were neither theoretical nor distant. They were tangible, local, and deeply disruptive. Take BMW's Spartanburg plant in South Carolina, one of the largest automotive exporters in the United States. While the facility assembles vehicles domestically, it relies heavily on imported components. When tariffs raised costs on those inputs, production economics shifted instantly. Vehicles built in America suddenly became more expensive to export abroad, undermining one of the very arguments used to justify domestic manufacturing. Analysts projected billions of dollars in lost export value, particularly for high-margin models like the BMW X5 and X6. The supplier ecosystem felt the strain even faster. More than 2,500 US-based suppliers were tied directly or indirectly to German automakers. Many had invested heavily in specialized tooling, robotics and processes tailored to specific platforms. When orders were delayed or cancelled, those investments became stranded assets. Small and mid-sized suppliers, especially in Ohio, Michigan, Indiana and Alabama, found themselves exposed, lacking the scale or flexibility to pivot quickly to new customers. Dealerships faced a different kind of chaos. Inventory shortages emerged as shipments slowed or stopped. Prices became unpredictable, fluctuating as dealers attempted to balance tariff costs, demand and financing risks. Service departments struggled with parts availability, raising concerns over maintenance timelines and warranty coverage. Consumers, meanwhile, were left confused, uncertain whether to buy now, wait, or walk away entirely. Employment effects followed. While factories did not immediately close, hiring slowed, overtime was reduced, and contract workers were quietly let go. The uncertainty froze expansion plans not just for automakers, but for logistics firms, transport operators, and technology vendors tied to the auto sector. The irony was hard to ignore. A policy designed to protect American jobs was destabilizing many of them instead. What became clear was that modern manufacturing does not operate in isolation. When a global supply chain fractures, the damage does not stop at national borders. It spreads through interconnected systems, leaving even domestic participants vulnerable. And as US stakeholders struggled to adapt, German automakers began looking elsewhere for stability, finding it in an unexpected place. As uncertainty mounted in the United States, German automakers faced a strategic crossroads. They could attempt to weather a volatile policy environment, or they could redirect investment toward markets offering clearer rules and long-term consistency. Increasingly, the answer pointed east to China. China had already become the world's largest automotive market. But what made it especially attractive during this period was not just size, it was predictability. Beijing's industrial policies, particularly around electric vehicles, infrastructure, and advanced manufacturing, were communicated years in advance and implemented with relative consistency. For companies navigating tariff whiplash elsewhere, that stability mattered more than incentives alone. Mercedes-Benz moved swiftly, announcing that key next-generation electric vehicle platforms would debut in China rather than the United States. BMW accelerated investment in its Chengdu manufacturing complex, expanding capacity and deepening partnerships with local suppliers. Audi went further still, establishing new research and development centers in Shanghai and Shenzhen, while forming joint ventures with Chinese technology firms specializing in software, digital interfaces, and autonomous driving systems. In practical terms, this meant that future German vehicles, particularly EVs, would be conceived, engineered, and refined in China from the earliest stages. The implications were profound. When innovation migrates, influence follows. The US did not just lose production volume, it lost proximity to cutting-edge development. Engineers, suppliers, and startups that once clustered around German brands in America found themselves sidelined as investment flowed elsewhere. China, meanwhile, gained more than jobs. It absorbed expertise, intellectual capital, and global brand validation. Hosting German luxury innovation accelerated China's push into the premium EV segment. placing domestic firms closer to world-class standards at unprecedented speed. Critically, this was not the result of aggressive poaching or forced relocation. German automakers made the move voluntarily, driven by rational risk assessment. In a world where policy uncertainty carries real financial consequences, stability became the most valuable commodity, and China offered it, while the United States did not. At first glance, the retreat of German luxury brands appeared to offer a clear opening for American automakers. With BMW, Mercedes-Benz, and Audi pulling back, companies like Ford, General Motors, and Stellantis seemed poised to reclaim market share and strengthen their domestic position. But that expectation quickly unraveled. The same tariffs that burdened foreign automakers also hit US manufacturers hard. Modern American vehicles rely extensively on imported components, advanced semiconductors, battery materials, electronic control units, and specialized sensors. When tariffs raised the cost of these inputs, domestic production costs climbed as well. Ford publicly estimated a multi-billion-dollar financial hit tied directly to tariff-related expenses. GM and Stellantis withdrew earnings forecast altogether, citing uncertainty around trade policy and supply chain stability. Beyond cost pressures, the absence of German competition created a less obvious but equally serious problem: innovation stagnation. German automakers had long set benchmarks in infotainment systems, chassis engineering, hybrid drivetrains, and premium interiors. Their presence forced American brands to innovate faster and invest more aggressively. Without that pressure, the incentive to push boundaries weakened. German luxury marques carried global prestige that could not be easily replicated. Cadillac and Lincoln made efforts to move up market, but brand equity is built over decades, not product cycles. The vacuum left by German brands did not automatically translate into loyalty for domestic alternatives. Instead, some consumers delayed purchases or looked toward other international competitors. Supplier networks further complicated the picture. Many US suppliers served both domestic and German automakers. When German orders declined, supplier volume dropped, raising per-unit costs for everyone, including American brands. Layoffs, reduced capacity utilization, and delayed technology investments followed, eroding the resilience of the entire ecosystem. In the end, Detroit discovered that trade protection does not guarantee competitive advantage. Without stable rules, robust supply chains, and sustained competitive pressure, even domestic champions struggle. What was framed as a zero-sum victory over foreign rivals revealed itself as a systemic disruption, one that left no clear winners, only shared consequences. What began as a unilateral policy decision in Washington quickly expanded into a global realignment that few policymakers appeared prepared for. The automotive industry, more than most sectors, is deeply international. Cars cross borders multiple times before reaching consumers, and any disruption to that flow reverberates across continents. As German automakers scaled back US commitments, governments and manufacturers worldwide recalibrated their strategies almost immediately. The European Union viewed the tariffs not as an isolated economic measure, but as a direct challenge to its industrial core. Germany alone exports millions of vehicles annually, and the United States had long been one of its most important markets. Retaliatory tariffs were discussed openly, while trade officials explored legal avenues through international trade bodies. Even countries not directly targeted by US tariffs began hedging against future volatility, anticipating that similar measures could be applied elsewhere. This uncertainty accelerated a broader shift already underway: the move from cost-optimized globalization to stability-focused regionalization. Manufacturers began prioritizing predictable policy environments over low labor costs. Production hubs were reorganized around political alignment and regulatory consistency rather than pure efficiency. For automakers, the question was no longer where is it cheapest to build, but where can we plan with confidence for the next decade? Ports, logistics firms, and suppliers felt the impact quickly. US ports saw declines in vehicle and component throughput, while Asian ports, particularly in China, experienced growth tied to new manufacturing investments. Shipping routes adjusted. Long-standing supplier relationships were re-evaluated. Contracts once assumed to be permanent were rewritten with exit clauses and contingency plans. The ripple effects extended into finance. Investors began discounting companies with heavy exposure to unpredictable trade environments. Capital flowed toward regions perceived as policy stable, reinforcing the shift away from the US as a central node in global automotive planning. Perhaps most telling was how quietly these changes occurred. There were no dramatic announcements declaring the end of globalization. Instead, the system adapted silently, piece by piece. By the time the scale of the shift became visible, much of the decision-making had already moved elsewhere. The global auto order was not collapsing, but it was being rewired in ways that would be difficult to reverse. The most significant consequences of the German automakers' retreat were not measured in unit sales or quarterly earnings. They were measured in influence, prestige, and long-term relevance. The United States did not just lose cars on showroom floors, it lost its position as a central stage for the future of automotive innovation. Luxury automakers play an outsized role in shaping industry direction. Their technologies eventually trickle down into mass-market vehicles, setting standards for safety systems, software integration, battery management, and manufacturing techniques. When these brands scale back their presence, the ecosystems that grow around them weaken. Universities lose industry partners. Startups lose anchor clients. Engineers lose access to cutting-edge projects. Design authority also matters. Where vehicles are conceived influences everything from regulatory priorities to consumer expectations. As German automakers shifted concept development to China, American regulators, suppliers, and designers found themselves reacting rather than shaping outcomes. Standards were increasingly set elsewhere. There was also a reputational cost. For decades, hosting major global manufacturers signaled that the US was a reliable long-term partner. When companies with deep American investments began pulling back, it sent a message, not just to automakers, but to other advanced manufacturing sectors. Stability, once assumed, now had to be questioned. This loss of trust is difficult to quantify, but it is slow to rebuild. Factories can be reopened, tariffs can be lifted, but confidence once shaken lingers as caution. Corporate strategies began incorporating policy risk as a permanent variable when evaluating US investments. Perhaps the most overlooked loss was time. While attention focused on immediate political wins and losses, other regions moved ahead, building EV ecosystems, training workforces, and integrating software into manufacturing at scale. In an industry defined by long development cycles, lost years are not easily recovered. The shift did not mark the end of American automotive leadership, but it narrowed the margin for error. Competing in the next era of mobility would require more than tariffs or slogans. It would require trust, consistency, and a renewed commitment to long-term collaboration. The departure of BMW, Mercedes-Benz, and Audi from deeper engagement in the US market was not a sudden collapse, nor was it inevitable. It was the cumulative result of uncertainty, disrupted trust, and strategic recalculation in a global industry that values predictability above all else. What makes this moment significant is not just what was lost, but what it revealed. The automotive sector exposed a hard truth. Modern manufacturing cannot be reshaped through force alone. Supply chains, innovation networks, and investment decisions respond to incentives and stability, not ultimatums. When those foundations crack, companies do not fight, they reroute. For American automakers, the path forward remains challenging, but not closed. Competing without the innovation pressure of German rivals will require intentional investment in technology, software, and design. For suppliers and workers, adaptation will depend on diversification and resilience, rather than reliance on a single ecosystem. For policymakers, the lesson is perhaps the most critical. Economic strength in a globalized world is built through alignment, clarity, and long-term planning. Short-term leverage may deliver immediate headlines, but it carries downstream consequences that outlast political cycles. The world did not stop buying cars. It did not stop innovating. It simply adjusted to where it felt most secure. Whether the United States can once again become a preferred destination for global automotive investment will depend on its willingness to offer what multinational industries seek most: consistency, collaboration, and confidence in the road ahead. The exit of Germany's finest was quiet. The consequences were not, and the decisions made next will determine whether this moment becomes a temporary detour or a permanent shift in the map of global manufacturing. Once again, thanks for watching this video. If you got something out of this, hit that like button and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next one. And hey, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Agree, disagree, or something in between. I'd love to hear it.